Good evening, everybody, and welcome along to this edition of SportsView on Monday, the 5th of June, 2023. Good evening, Joe Waters, and welcome.
Good evening, Pat. Thank you.
Now, myself and Joe, we're used to working hard, aren't we, Joe?
Yeah.
Hence, we're here every Monday night for SportsView. That's not a hint or anything. That's just a statement of fact, isn't it?
Yeah.
We're going to be looking at soccer, obviously, golf, whatever, Formula One, Rugby, J, whatever comes up on the program. But before we start, because my dad, I want to wish him a happy birthday tomorrow. I'll be popping down to him, but just in case, he's 93, the same
Oh,
age as Clint Eastwood. He's the same birthday, not the same date, but the same week. So, happy birthday, Dad, and many more to come.
yes, indeed. Happy birthday.
And tell you now, that means that I'll be in the world for another 20 years at least, hopefully.
There you go.
Anyway,
There's somebody gone out there saying, do we have to put up with him for another 20 years?
I know, yeah. Please don't switch off. Press the red button on the right-hand side to subscribe to our channel, and thank you very much for that. Over the weekend, Joe, obviously, City won the Cup, and no surprise, really, but I think United put up a credible performance. I know everybody has said that, but I think, really, I don't think they had any chance of winning the game, to be brutally honest with you.
It's the age-old one. City would have had to play at their poorest. Now, to be very fair, City were not that good on Saturday.
No.
They did not look sharp. They didn't move the ball well. And I mean, that can be down to the way United set up and stifle them. But they certainly, they didn't play that well. United did a good job of denying them the ball and penetration and what have you. But it never looked really like United were going to win it. And the two goals they gave up were absolutely diabolical, in my opinion.
Well, the first one, Joe, I mean, at the very start of the game, you should be the sharpest, as you know yourself.
Right.
The awareness, and that's a deficit in United all year.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, it was. I watched it, and I couldn't fathom what had happened till I watched it a couple of times. But I mean, it was so ridiculous. I mean, Gundogan plays the ball back to the goalkeeper and ends up scoring on the other end past three of United's midfield players.
Absolutely.
And it's like, it was an absolute joke of a goal. It's one long ball down the field. Casemiro comes across to challenge Haaland, which I have no idea what he's doing there because he's not supposed to be over there doing that. That is Lindelof's job or Varane's job. Yeah. Lindelof and Varane never got anywhere near Haaland. And then the ball goes into the box. And Fred, who is supposed to be taking care of De Bruyne and marking him out of the game, is 5 yards away from him on the wrong side of the goal. And then Lindelof heads the ball, which every centre half in the world is told never to do. Do not head the ball back into the middle of the field. Head it away from goal.
Yeah.
And he puts it right in there, and it falls perfectly for Gundogan to I mean, he struck it perfectly. It was a great shot. But then Eriksen is trailing Gundogan as he's shooting. He was the third midfield player. So I have no idea. Two of City's attacking central players, De Bruyne and Gundogan, are past goal side, United's goal side of all three of United's midfield players.
But some of that is down to not good players. They're not good players, but some of the reasoning. The other is there's no leader on the pitch for Man United. No strong leader, who will take a player aside and say, "Look, cop on. This is your job." I don't see it anymore. I don't see it during the year. I didn't see it in many of the United games. But I know it's linked. But wondering now, I know Inter Milan or Roma didn't win in Europe during the week, but the player that impressed me an awful lot on the Roma side was Chris Smalling.
Yes.
And would Chris Smalling, I know it's a silly thing to say, I know that, would he have made a mistake like that at the back?
I mean, it's a very good question because to be frank with you, I have no time for Victor Lindelof. I do not rate him as a centre back. He doesn't defend well. He gets himself the wrong side. He lets people, the goal against Tottenham when they were 4-0 up, instead of sending the guy wide, he sends him to the inside and lets him get a shot off. And then David De Gea is not able to cover it. And I've seen him do that numerous times, stay off of people and usher them into the middle, the centre of the field. And that's not what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to turn them away from the goal.
Now, there's speculation this morning. There's loads of speculation this time of year, as you know, when the soccer season is over, who's going where and who's doing what. But there's no doubt in my mind, Harry Kane will not be with Spurs next season.
No.
And I think he'll be with Man United.
Well, you know, what I'm reading is that now that Benzema is going to leave and head off over to
Saudi Arabia, I think,
the Sahara or wherever it is he's going, and they're talking about Real Madrid being interested in Harry Kane. That if that's the case, that's the only place he's going to end up because Spurs will not sell him to United.
Harry Kane is 29 years of age. That's nothing wrong. If you keep yourself fit and trouble-free injury, you can go on to your 35, 36, 37. There's no
that's what Benzema did.
Absolutely. And so, to my mind, Harry Kane would have to learn a new language at the age of 29, to learn Spanish, to go to fit in. Otherwise, he'd wind up as a sub, sub on the bench. And I don't know myself. I think he'd be more comfortable staying in England. That's supposing Man United will match Real Madrid's interests, but we don't know. There's no offers on the table yet. But no. I think he'd be a good fit for Man United.
Oh, I think he'd be a very good fit for Man United. But the problem with United is, I mean, you look at the game on Saturday, right? I mean, United are light years away from City. They're nowhere near winning a big title with them, and they've got so much they've got to do. I mean, Christian Eriksen is a good player, is a terrific player, but he's getting old, and his legs are going, and he can't play the role that he used to play, going from box to box, making
You're
things
right,
happen.
Joe. And you saw how Modric and all them were cut out.
Yeah.
They were cut out against City. They were overrun. They were overrun midfield. That's the end of it. I mean, you want to be there, but you can't be there physically anymore.
Right. And you can't get up and get back. You know that the amount of times that you need to be able to do that. And then Fred is just, Fred is not.
Well, he's gone out of this. I think he's gone this year. He's gone out of the job. Karim Benzema played his last match for Real Madrid. 14 years there. He had, I think, 238 goals for Real Madrid. He had 37 goals for France. He won 5 European Cups, 4 La Ligas, and 4 Super Cups, and a host of other things as well. He started his career, as we know, at Lyon for 2 or 3 seasons, but he's been an absolute fantastic footballer, Joe. No doubt about it.
Yes, he has. You know, the only tragedy of that whole thing is that his French career wasn't what it should have been.
No.
And I don't know whether it's because Deschamps didn't like him or he did something that, I mean, even when he took him to the World Cup this year, it was very poor. I mean, the relationship between the two of them, and Benzema in the finish just left.
Well, Benzema, obviously, we don't know what happened. All we can do, as you said, Joe, is look at what we see with our own eyes and make our own opinions. But I think he was shabbily treated
I
by
do.
the management of that French team. I mean,
Yeah.
there was a few players on that French team that played every game, and you'd ask yourself, should they have? We don't know. We don't know. But
Well,
Benzema's record speaks for itself. He was just
yeah.
an
But I mean, he would
outstanding.
have been. It would have been a perfect setting for him to be there, and with Olivier Giroud as his backup, and then
Absolutely.
the two of them could have shared playing time, and it would have spared their legs for the you know that would have helped them in the tournament.
I,
So
I think I think they should have played Benzema and Giroud with Mbappe running the defense ragged, make you
yeah,
open for them. But look, you're right there. Getting back to the FA Cup before we go away from it, before I forget it, I honestly think after looking back at it a few times that De Gea should have saved that second goal.
oh, without a shadow of a doubt. I mean, he is so far back. I mean, he is not off of his line more
No,
than a couple of yards. He should have been. When that ball goes out there, I mean, the first things first. How do United leave 3 Man City players free on the edge of the box?
that's the first thing, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you never leave players free. No, if you're going to leave somebody free, leave them free as far out to the wing as possible. But in the middle of the field, you've got to be picking people up. And I mean,
Okay.
De Bruyne had a choice of 3 fellas that he could pick out on that, and he managed to pick out Gundogan, and I mean, he got a bit of luck with it with his connection. But I agree with you. I mean, David De Gea was so slow. He didn't seem to move across his goal when the ball went in that direction, and he didn't seem to step forward to give himself to cut out more of the angles on either side of him. And that, if he had stepped out another yard, he would have probably saved that.
Yeah, and the sad thing about the FA Cup final, I know we all look back at the old days, but sometimes with rose tinted glasses. I'll
Yes.
I'll be the first to admit it. But I was thinking of it afterwards. Uh, both the blue and the red of Manchester United, of Manchester itself, there's no connection with any of the players standing on the field with Manchester on either side.
Isn't Rashford a Manchester kid? Isn't he from around there somewhere?
You see, maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, I think I have a sneaky suspicion, but
The
I
point
mean,
I'm making is,
yeah,
there's no neighbours of Joe, there's no neighbours of Pat or Tom or Dick,
yeah,
coming
yeah,
out. And that's the way soccer is. I know that. It's a business. It's not a game anymore. It's a
yeah.
business.
Is Phil Foden a Manchester kid?
Maybe he could be, yeah. I don't know
Yeah,
that.
because I know he was in their academy.
Yeah.
So but I get. I mean, the point you're making is very, very
Yeah.
is very true.
Yes.
Is that there's very few players with any real connection to
Yeah.
the city of Manchester now. I mean, it's not like,
By the way, there's a picture of Benzema, in case people were wondering who we're talking about, Joe. The wonderful, he'll be missed. Now, another man announced his retirement as well over the weekend. That man there is Zlatan Ibrahimovic. What did you make of him, Joe, as a player?
oh, I thought he was a fine player. I mean, he
Yeah.
was a terrific player. He was, he had so much, for a big guy, he had so much going for him.
Yeah.
I laughed at he was doing a goodbye speech at the end of the game, I guess yesterday or the day before, whichever it was.
Yeah.
And the people from the city they were playing in were jeering him. And he turned to them and he said, "Be quiet now." He said, "This is the highlight of your career, of your year, listening to me talking." I'll tell you, I have the story once that when he was in Paris, he tried to buy an apartment in one of the plushest apartment complexes in Paris.
Yes.
And they wouldn't let him buy it.
No.
Yeah, they wouldn't let him buy it for whatever reason. They didn't want him to have it. So he went away and bought the building. Yeah, yeah.
And he
I heard that one. I don't, of course, you know how these things go.
and then he gave them all their notice. You know,
Yeah.
But he started his career with Malmo in Sweden.
Yes.
Who have a good pedigree from a small country, you know, Sweden.
Oh, yeah.
405 goals he scored in his career, which is some amount. And he played 122 times for Sweden, and obviously won an awful lot of matches by himself. That's no reflection on the team, but that's the way he was. He got 62 goals for Sweden, but we wish him well, and a character to boot, no doubt about it. That was
Oh,
Zlatan Ibrahimovic. When another character gone off stage left. Did you see any of the Roma Sevilla match during the week?
I did, yeah. Yeah.
Well, the first thing to say, Joe, I think, and now whether you agree with me or not, it was a poor game, but the referee was shocking.
The referee didn't. I mean, the referee, I don't think had a good.
No.
Really had a good game.
No.
But I mean, he did overturn the penalty that was given against Roma.
Yeah.
But you know, I really don't. I don't care how bad a referee is, you know, and everyone's entitled to an off day. We've seen it happen. But to be abused like that referee was by Jose Mourinho after the game,
well,
and then for he and his family to be harassed like they were harassed at the airport, and that's down to Mourinho's diatribe after the game. I mean, that is absolutely disgraceful. That has no place anywhere in any game, not to mind the game of soccer. I mean, it is terrible.
I mean, I don't get it. I'm not making an excuse for Mourinho. I don't get it myself. You're putting yourself in the place of Mourinho. The game is over. The referee is not going to go back and his officials to the game and look at, okay, we'll reverse that decision and we'll get him to play another 10 minutes. So none of that is ever going to happen. So what's the point of the big, huge tirade? There are ways of doing it. You can make an official written complaint about the officials at any game. Any one of you can. Any members of the club can. And that's the way it should be done myself. Like in the GA here in Sonny, but you know, you're entitled, if you're put off and you're given a red card and you feel that it's utterly unwarranted and unjust, you can appeal it immediately, and there's a system for that. And I think the same with these matches in the heat of the moment. But I think Mourinho, I think he's coming to the end of his own career. You know, he knows it himself, you know.
Well, you know, I think he was, and maybe it's a strange thing to say, but I think that you're right. I think that I think he was looking for one more opportunity in the Premier League, and if he won that trophy, then some of the Premier League teams might be looking at him again. But
yeah, I think you could be right, because there are a few places open, as we know, you know. But I can't see any job at the moment. Now there's speculation, as there is, I think, as we're here on air tonight, I think West Ham are playing the final of the Europa Conference, you know.
Yeah.
Or is it during the week? I think it's on.
I think it's during the week.
It's Thursday night. I beg your pardon. It's Thursday night. But there's speculation that could be Moyes' last game with West Ham. I don't know how true that is.
You know, they have been after him for so long, and it's typical of the press. You know, that he's done a great job of keeping them in the Premier League.
He did,
and he's got them to a European final that they haven't been to one since 1964 or something like that. 65, I think.
Well, the early 60s, anyway, and also the fact that he managed as well to hold on to Rice.
Yeah.
I mean, we're not picking out one player doesn't make it, but Rice is a terrific player.
Yes, he is.
The fact that Moyes could hold him, and they could have been relegated, you know, West Ham, but yet he managed to hold. Now, what will happen during the off season, we don't know. You know, I don't know. Will Rice leave West Ham or not? He may stay. I don't know that. I don't know.
Well, I think that's a tough one, because you're looking right now at the market for players, and it's you're looking at oh God, Gundogan at City looks like he might be on the move. Of course, we talked about the Jude Bellingham. He's on the move, another
Yes.
midfield player.
Yeah.
You
Harry
know,
Kane.
yeah. So and then you have Mason Mount at Chelsea on the move. Madison and
Oh yeah, I forgot about him. And
yeah,
also,
and
you must.
Madison and the Belgian guy at Leicester. They seem both of them. Well, oh
Yeah.
God, he scored a goal in the cup final, winning goal in the cup final. Can't think of his name right now, but he's
I know.
definitely going, and they want somewhere in the region of 40, 50 million for Madison, and Harvey Barnes, another one, but he's an outside player, so wouldn't affect
Well,
Damien Rice. But
well,
there's
we have Pochettino at Chelsea now,
right,
and he knows a lot of the English players himself anyway. From managing there. So I mean, Chelsea have money. So also, the chap from Celtic is gone to Spurs. You
yeah.
know,
Has he definitely gone?
well, it's a done
It,
deal.
it looks like,
According to I read 3 different sports sites this morning,
yeah,
and obviously terms have to. But I think it's a done deal. Really. The problem with that, I think, is we'll assume he goes to Spurs. I forget his name. He's the Greek manager. You know who I'm talking about. Yeah.
yeah.
I
Ange
should
Postecoglou.
have written down his name. It begins with a P, I think. Anyway,
Yeah,
with apologies to the man and all the Greek
yeah,
people that might be looking in. I
yeah.
won't make an attempt to pronounce his name, but he bought 7 or 8 terrific Japanese players during his season, and they are terrific. There's no doubt about it. I know playing in the Scottish League, it's not as high level as in the Premiership, but there's no doubt in my mind that there's 2 or 3 of those players who would seamlessly fit into the Premiership. They
Oh
have the
yeah,
talent. They have. We saw Celtic. You saw Celtic yourself probably during the year, and some of them are just terrific players.
yes they are.
And
Yeah.
I think the problem for Celtic is the manager will go to Spurs. There's no doubt that 2 or 3 or maybe 4 of those players will go with him.
I
Could
would imagine. I would imagine there's a couple going to go with him, at least. Anyway, they're already talking about the goal scorer that they have there going with him.
yeah.
Their leading goal scorer. So, yeah, it wouldn't surprise me one bit if that was the case, that he would go with him. I mean, that area right now, and you're actually seeing a lot of it. It's starting to happen. There are going to be an awful lot of players coming out of Asia.
Well,
In,
there's no doubt that the standard is improving. The standard is high. We saw it from the last World Cup. We got glimpses of it. There was a terrific Japanese team in the World Cup.
yeah,
There's
yeah,
no doubt. There was a terrific Moroccan team.
yes,
So there's pedigree there, as well
yeah,
in those teams. And there'll come a day when they'll go way past the no hoper stage, and they will solidify themselves. Oh, by the way, a good look soccer story I picked up during the week was the Israeli under-20 football team beat Brazil in the World Cup, in the semi-final of the World Cup. They beat Brazil 3-2 after extra time. I mean, they're in the final of the under-20 World Cup. It's just I think it's a terrific story myself.
yes, it is.
It's a
It is.
terrific football story. Because and we were talking about in Japan, and there's no doubt that the Chinese. I don't know why the Chinese soccer, it doesn't seem to have taken on. They have enough. God forgive me. They have enough people to be able.
Yeah.
I don't want to sound this.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, but you're right though. It's I think sorry, not Japanese, Chinese soccer is probably at about where US soccer was in the 70s
Yeah.
now,
Yes.
and they're just starting to come through that.
Yeah.
And I think that they tried just like the US did to buy a league and get superstars in there and what have you. It's a stopgap method of doing it, because you're trying to build the game by attracting the biggest names, but they're
You're
at the
right,
end of
Joe.
their career.
Because you're right, because we remember Pele and Cosmos.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, it's yeah. I mean, when I came to the US in 1984, I was playing against some of those guys that were still left, because when I came in '84, the NASL had just folded the previous summer.
Yeah.
So there were a lot of the outdoor guys, guys like Johan Neskins,
Yeah.
Kazdena from Poland,
Oh yeah.
Gordon Hill from England, Manchester United.
Yeah.
A ton of those guys all came and played indoor,
Yeah.
because it
Absolutely.
was where it was the only professional league, and it was paying pretty well at the time.
Okay.
So a
It was
lot of those
an
guys,
income for people. Yeah, an income,
yeah.
and they were
So
right.
so that, I mean, guys do stick around. I mean,
I
up in,
thought, Joe, that the US team did well in the World Cup.
yes, they did. They
I
did for
thought
a
they
young
were,
team.
I thought they were a very handy team.
Yeah,
You know, I thought they were.
yeah.
And
But that's what I'm saying. People don't realize, and you were talking about population there. The population in the US is huge.
it is, yeah.
And now we're starting to get more and more of the ethnic players that have emigrated to the States with their families, or were born here, and the lack of trust in the system is kind of gone now, and
Yeah.
a lot of these players are starting to appear with the national teams.
Now, an awful lot of you'll be more familiar than I would, but looking in from the outside, from afar, the college system in the United States is really fantastic for basketball and for American football. Would you have the same strength building up now with soccer as well in the
No,
universities? No.
not in the college level.
And I think maybe that's the secret of success down the road.
Well, it's a funny thing, because there's two sides to the college experience, and you just hit the nail on the head there. You have basketball, you have football, you have baseball, and getting a college education was a huge thing.
Yeah.
Back in the day, and it still is to a certain degree, but now so many of these kids are able to go into the academies, like the Seattle Sounders Academy and the LA clubs and what have you, and they're still able to get their education, but they're also professionals now, and they're getting well paid. So the difference now, and what was seen in college before, was that you went to college for 4, perhaps 5 years. A lot of people did 5. They redshirted 1 year. They didn't play their freshman year, and then the next 4 seasons they played. So by the fall, by the winter of their 5th year, they were graduating. They were moving on, and people saw that as a key developmental time in their development as soccer players, and a lot of them missed it. A lot of them missed out on it. So and then there was also the thing with the U.S. national team. You could not play. The U.S. national team had you on contract, so you could not play in college if they had you on contract. So there was a couple of things like that were going on. But now, they have the academies now, and all these kids are training every week, every day, and they're playing numerous games. They go touring to play against better opposition and what have you. So it's only a matter of time before the US starts producing more and more players, more and more teams that are going to challenge, because athletically, they're as good as anybody in the world athletically. Now the understanding of the game is coming, and it's at a very high level, and the skill is at a very high level.
And is women's soccer a bit more organized than men's in America?
No, no. The men's side of the game is pretty much well ahead. Soccer on the women's side is still very much a college kind of thing.
Yeah, and they have yes, and they have had good success with their national team.
Yes, they have, and
Yeah.
a lot now. A lot of the girls are go through college, and then they go on and they play professionally as well.
Yeah,
So
there's a few of them abroad as well,
yes, there are. Yeah,
which has raised the profile of the American team. But it's interesting. I think that I never understand in a small country like Ireland why they never had that. You know, with the second level colleges, a system like that to keep the talent and maybe give them a few bob as well and give them semi-professional contracts, and then graduate onto League of Ireland when they're a developmental stage and a national development squad and all of that. I don't know. I don't think it's that difficult to organize myself. You know, it just
yeah,
takes resources and
yeah,
a will to do it. You know, there you
yeah.
go.
I mean, we have the same here. We have junior colleges here. In our area, it's a 2 year. It's a 2 year, and it may be a 2 year all over the country. That you spend 2 years in a junior college, and it's usually a community college. So it'd be Tacoma Community College, Pierce Community College, and it costs you probably, if you're an athlete, it probably costs you $300 a year or $600 a year, maybe to go to school,
Yeah.
and so you come out of it with no debt, and then during that time you can transfer to a 4 year college
Right. Well,
if somebody wants you.
that's a good system, mind you. You're watching SportsView here on LairMedia.tv. Catch up with all our programs on our YouTube channel, LairMedia.tv, with Joe Waters and myself. And press the red button to subscribe to our channel. But just briefly before we come back to soccer, golf over the weekend. McElroy was in contention for the memorial. Jack Nicklaus looked resplendent, I must say. He's the host. Have you been in Ohio, Joe?
Yes.
He obviously he's from Ohio, Jack Nicklaus, and he hosted the memorial tournament every year there, you know, in Dublin. Now there's an Irish connection.
There
Dublin,
you are.
Ohio. Dublin, Ohio. And Victor Hovland won in a playoff. He won $3.6 million for his weekend's work. Nice money for Victor, but Victor Hovland, he's from where's he from? Norway, and a terrific playoff, a terrific win. Shane Lowry was placed down the field about 7th or 8th, and he won $280,000 for his win. But he's shaping up well. Now, in the European Open, I don't remember Rory McIlroy won his first professional tournament in Dubai when he was 19 years of age. You know, his club is Hollywood in County Down. He played out of Hollywood. And lo and behold, the European Open golf was won by young 20-year-old, the second youngest ever, 20-year-old Tom McKibben from Hollywood club as well. He won the European Open. I mean, there was wonderful photographs of, where is he? Yeah, there's Tom McKibben, lads, 20 years of age, with his European trophy. And I think 350 grand, but that's not the point. He'd get an exemption, all that goes with it for a couple of years. And the rounds of 72, 69, 72 and 70. But, you know, there was a 6 or 7 way tie in the last round for the last few holes. But fair play to him. He's been knocking the door for the last few weeks. That's Tom McKibben from the Hollywood club winning the European Open. Joe, a lovely story, I think, you know.
Yeah.
And in the women's side of it, just not to bore you all to death, in the women's side, there's a young golfer who 9 days ago, I'll say this again, 9 days ago, turned professional. You know what's going to happen? She came out in her first professional tournament over the weekend, the Americas Open. Rose Zhang, there she is, Rose Zhang from America. I don't know part of the States, and she won the Americas Open, and $500,000 more or less she got for it. But that's not the point. The point is, it was her first professional tournament, and it really is something to a bit of joy for her. You know, it was very good. And Leonie Maguire was around in the top 6 or 7 as well. She did well at -6. She was just 3 shots off. She did very well. So she's shaping up very well for this year as well in the women's side of it. I know, Joe, we briefly touched on it here a few times in Formula One. We don't spend a lot of time on Formula One. Not that we have anything against Formula One, but guess who won the race over the weekend? You'll never guess who won the Grand Prix over the weekend.
I think his name begins with an M, doesn't it?
No, V.
Oh,
Max, yeah, Max.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Verstappen first, Hamilton second, Russell third. Now, that's the 7th Grand Prix this year, and all 7 of them have been won by Red Bull. 5 by Verstappen and 2 by Perez. Now, as we said here, I still can't get my head. Well, if you're driving in a Grand Prix, Joe, right?
Yeah.
And you know, and your team knows, and everyone looking in knows that the 2 best cars, you won't beat them.
Right.
So why are you racing? You can't beat them.
That's a very good question, isn't it? Yeah.
I know.
Yeah. You just hope that they break down, I suppose. Yeah.
A puncture.
Yeah.
They might
malfunction somewhere.
They might crash into each other.
Yeah. Yeah.
We have a race. I know it's a very cynical view to take, but really, it is very boring now at this stage. But look, we wish all the other teams the best of luck for the rest of the year. But Red Bull have won 7 races. How many Grand Prix are there? 16 or 18 of them or something?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah. I know where I forgot to look. Now, you get a notion sometimes, I suppose, Joe, when you be online on the computer this morning. I was looking up stuff, and I said I'd look up tickets for the Rugby World Cup, since it's not far away. It's in France, you know, which is an hour and a half, 2 hours away by flight. So there are no tickets available, no official tickets. I went on the official rugby ticket website, but then I was pointed to resale tickets, you know. There's a section called resale tickets for the Rugby World Cup. That's the logo for it there for people with their Rugby World Cup, which is in France in October. Now, I was looking up the resale tickets, and there was only one match that I could get tickets for, with all due respect to the rugby nation of Uruguay and Romania. There were tickets available this morning. They were resale tickets, but before you press the button to go forward to buy them, there was a caption came up: the Rugby World Cup organisers are not responsible for these tickets, right? You buy them at your own. So I'm thinking, if these are official tickets that are for resale, I know it's a bit long-winded, why in the name of God are they on the official Rugby World Cup website for sale, and yet they disavow, if anything happens, they won't have ownership of those tickets? I don't know, really. There's no ticket available for the Ireland matches, none whatever.
Wow.
They're gone, and there's no ticket available for any match. I said that was the only game of the pool games, Uruguay and Romania. Obviously, if you want the World Cup experience, you'd have to go through a club or someone who has a club, you know, Munster Rugby or Ulster Rugby, or someone, you know, someone who might. I don't even know what way they were distributed, Joe. I know Ireland were complaining at the very beginning about their allocation of tickets, you know, for the Rugby World Cup, but there we are. Anyway, we're looking forward to that. No matter what, most of the games are on the big games are on at 7 or 8 o'clock in the evening, which is grand, which is fine, which is reasonable for us. But just for people who may not be following it, in Ireland's group, we're assuming they'll come out with South Africa, South Africa, Ireland, Scotland, and there's 3 more teams. And I don't mean to dismiss them, but Scotland had good form at the end of the Six Nations, but Ireland and South Africa are fancy to come out of the group. Ireland will have to beat either New Zealand or France in the quarterfinal.
Yeah.
That's it now. I was looking it up this morning. So they're capable of doing it. And then they're in a semi-final. And obviously Australia and England, I think, are in the same group. Australia and England will come out of that group, But they're at the other side of the draw. As I was saying to you before, if Ireland happen to keep winning all their games, they could meet England in the World Cup final.
Yeah. That would be interesting.
That's what we want, isn't it? Deep down, that's what we want, if I'm to be honest about it. And in the GA matters over the weekend, for people who were following that, there's a lovely photograph. I know, can I get it or not? Down in Thurles yesterday, Joe, there was 2 All-Ireland finals on in hurling. The under-20, which used to be the under-21 grade, and the minor All-Ireland. Now, a young fella I know, well, he's not a young fella anymore now, he's the same age as my daughter, but Brian O'Connell was the manager of the Clare minor hurling team. They won their 2nd ever minor hurling All-Ireland. Their 2nd ever minor hurling All-Ireland. They beat Galway in the final, which was absolutely fantastic. The first time they won it ever was in 1997. The year the seniors won, they did the double that year, but they won their 2nd one. And it was lovely to see. And in the under-20 final then, Cork were playing Offaly, and Cork won that. They won it handily enough, I'm afraid Offaly wasn't, it wasn't a great match on it for the second half. They were physically bigger than them. They were able to run through them, run through 3 or 4 tackles undisturbed. So they won it easy enough, and that's their 3rd All-Ireland in 4 years in the under-20 grade. But there's a lovely photograph on the press this morning, lads, for anyone. I'll put it up for people to see. That's Michael Mullins there from Whitechurch in Cork. He was the captain of the team. There's his nana there in the front. Doesn't she have a fine grip on the cup, Joe? I think the cup is in her house. Nothing negative. I think she has that cup in her house last night. I don't know that, but it was a fabulous photograph, Fabulous.
Yeah, it is.
A fabulous photograph, and he's a great match being captain. But I like those things myself, those quirky things, So getting back to soccer, we look forward to next Saturday night, Joe, with the European Cup final between City and Inter Milan. I mean, I did say last week, I think, that Inter Milan had no chance. But my son and the lads that watched some of the game said, no, that's not right, that they have a 50-50 chance in the final, And you must see the logic of it, all right, It's 11.
Yeah.
But as you said, City have played a lot of games, an awful lot of games. They're only human after all. I think they were a bit heavy in the legs, as you would say in the trade, Saturday in the cup final. Whether I know about you now, Joe, you played at a high level, how will that be for them this week? Obviously, there'll be no running around.
Well, I think, that's been kind of the thing for a lot of English clubs in the European Cup down and the European tournaments down through the years, the amount of games that they've had to play. Although in today's day and age, it's a little bit different than back in the days when United won it and Leeds were losing in the final and what have you. You maybe had a squad of about 14 or 15 players that you could rely on. But it's very taxing to play, to have a season like that. But now, I mean, City now have a bench that their whole bench could play probably in the game. I mean, you had Riyad Mahrez, you had Phil Foden, you had who else did they have there? Calvin Phillips, all these guys on the bench.
Yeah.
They, are all very, very good players.
Oh, they could play.
So
They could play as well as the rest of them are playing. You're dead right there. They have good 20, 21 players.
yeah,
They have two teams effectively. We know that.
yes, yeah, they do.
As you
So
said,
I don't think that. I think that he's been able to manage City physically for the last half the season, and he's changed it up a little bit. And I think that I still think City will have too much. I think that if Milan's going to win it, then they're going to have to. They're just going to have to do it the old-fashioned way, and maybe play with 5 at the back and hope to catch them on the break, because that's really in my opinion, the only way that they're going to beat City.
yeah, I was reading today. I mean, there was 11 what we call top sports writers across Europe. 11 of them. There's probably a lot more, but 11 of them were asked, and 10 of them went for City. Out of the 11. But 30 years ago, the first Europe Champions League was won by. Well, I know it because I looked it up, Joe. Marseille.
Yeah.
Marseille.
And
that year, Marseille.
Yeah. Did they beat Belgrade in the final? Partizan Belgrade?
I think so, yeah. But anyway, they won the thing, and then they were charged with match fixing. Do you remember? And they lost the league title, and there was a clamour then to say that they shouldn't have been in the Champions League because of that. There was a huge long rigmarole, but obviously the match fixing.
Red Star, I think they beat.
Red Star Belgrade, yeah. Red Star Belgrade, I think, yeah. But anyone that thinks we're wrong can send us in an email and we'll ignore it.
Did they not have that taken off of them and given to Red Star?
No.
The European Cup?
No, I don't think so. No, it is on. Well, they're still on as winners because I was looking.
Oh, they're still on it? Yeah.
They're still on as winners in '93. But it's a pity. Not a pity. I mean, obviously, you can't carry on like that, And I think Man City would do well to ponder what they were at. They've been to the Court of Arbitration twice. Man City, about cash and money and all of that.
Yeah.
We don't want to spoil what they say their parade, but really, there should be more of. I should say there should be more of attention to the rules of the game.
But to be honest, it should be. I mean, it should be like. Right now, Everton should be relegated and not one of the other 3 teams that went down.
That's
because
right.
They've been fighting this football fair play thing for forever. But the problem is, it's like in the old days when you had re-election to the Football League, when the team that finished bottom had to go and make a case to the rest of the chairman in the Football League to keep their spot, because Accrington Stanley had been the last ones to be voted out of the league at that time.
Oh, yeah.
And Grimsby Town had been in that situation where they had to seek re-election, and Grimsby were lucky because they had a chairman that was on the FA committee.
Oh, well, yeah. That was in the old system of the 4th division, was it?
Yes, yeah. And it was the old boys club. Because no one wanted to kick anybody out, because if it was their turn, they wanted the same taken care of as everybody else. So it became a bit of a club until they went to automatic relegation and promotion from the National League. So and this is what they're all afraid of in the Premier League, that it'll come back to bite them, because if they were to sanction Everton, then it opens up a whole can of worms for everybody else.
Well, I mean, you either have rules or you don't. As we said before, Joe, we discussed it
I,
many times.
I totally agree. Totally agree with you.
If you have
It's
rules, if you have
yeah,
rules, implement them, or else if they're cardiology or pretend, forget about them. But Wigan have till tomorrow. There's a winding up order served against them. You know, they got the club got an extension till tomorrow to come up with the goods. It looks like they may be saved. You know, but this has happened to them before. You know, Wigan
yeah,
Athletic, and of course they share. They have a rugby league club as well, Wigan, who
right.
are they tied to that club at all, the soccer club? Are they
I
tied?
don't. No, I don't believe so. I think I remember when we were in the fourth division in 90 when we got relegated in 76, 77. The next year or the year after, it was Wigan's first year in the league. So I actually played against them in the first year in the football league.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a strange thing. I mean, they did so well to go from being there to winning the FA Cup, and then getting relegated the same year, and then of course once they started the downfall, it just kept going and kept going. And I saw in the paper, I think this morning, something I was reading, that a group are buying them.
Yeah.
But they've already been docked points next year.
There's an offer on the table, apparently. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm only reading on the BBC World, the BBC Sport website today. You probably know as much as we all know. We're all in the same boat. But
yeah,
the good news story for women, the Women's World Cup in soccer is coming up very soon, as you know. All 85,000 tickets for the Ireland-Australia game has been sold.
Oh, wow.
No, I mean, I think that's phenomenal, Joe.
Well, it is. Absolutely.
And I'm not saying it because it's Ireland. I'm just saying it. This World Cup for the women's soccer should be sensational for the game itself. I think. I don't know.
Oh, I think so. And I mean, I hope so.
The only problem for me that it's in Australia, and
right.
to be selfish about it, outside of the world, I think the games are on at something like 8 o'clock in the morning, our time here in Ireland. I'd know what time to be over new to be.
That'd be 4 o'clock in the afternoon our time, so that'll suit us.
Oh, you're fucking grand. So
yeah,
you can give us a full report.
yeah,
I won't have to get up then in the morning. That's
yeah.
all
There
right.
you go.
Now Joe Waters will be on hand, lads, for the Women's World Cup every day at 4 o'clock. I'll give out his email later on after the show. But I look forward to it. You know, I'm looking forward to it. I must say, you know.
Oh, so am I. I am. Yeah, I think it's going to be really interesting to see how well all the games are supported down there.
Now, I saw terrific. We were talking about some sports documentaries. If people are stuck, if they have withdrawal symptoms from soccer after next Saturday. Next Saturday is the European Cup with Man City and Inter Milan, and people generally that's the end of the soccer season. Then, you know,
yeah.
Because we're in an odd year, we don't have a World Cup or European Championship. But the sports documentary I saw the weekend, and I was reluctant. I said I watched the start of it on Mohamed Farah.
Oh yeah.
And really and truly, lads, I must say, I have a different opinion of the man after the documentary. I know they were talking to him, and there's editing and all of that. And I know how television and documentaries work. I'm not a fool, but really and truly, when you see what happened to him when he ran in the first Olympics, it was last, you know, or second last. And actually in Athens, I know, do you remember in Athens, the Olympics in Athens? Usain Bolt ran in that Olympics for people who may not have heard of him, and he was nowhere. And we know what happened 4 years later. And we know what happened to Farah as well. So, I mean, he moved to America, to Portland, Oregon, Farah, to train with Salazar. Now, there's been, as you know, there's been a whole thing into Salazar, you know. But I don't know at the end of that investigation, Joe, was he ever found guilty of anything?
I, d- I don't I don't recall reading anything that there
Yeah,
was. I mean, Salazar's name always comes up when they're talking about bad stuff. In
yeah.
a lot of
Negative,
his
negative stuff. Yeah.
athletes have been uh, under suspicion, if you like, about stuff. But I don't know that there was anything proven. Yeah, and a lot of it is like hearsay that seemed like it was overwhelming evidence, but nobody was actually able to find any any hard evidence to support what people were saying.
I think you'll find this terrific. In my opinion, it's a terrific documentary. I'm not getting paid to say it or anything. I just it gripped me from
I
the
look it
start.
up.
It gripped me from the start, and I had to watch it till the end.
Yeah,
Which is a good sign of any program, no matter what it's about, no matter what topic it is. But for people who are bored to death, you can go onto our YouTube channel, Near Media TV, and watch some of our old programs as well. If you
Speaking of documentaries, have you watched the Kevin Moran one?
No, I didn't see that yet. It was on the telly. I was busy that night. I was out that night. I didn't see it yet. Is it? Did you see it?
I haven't seen it yet. No, I was just wondering. So,
There's huge positivity about it. I know
oh
this,
yeah,
but he was a terrific player.
yes,
I
he
mean,
was.
terrific man, and not a hint of scandal or anything. Just a matter of fact, man, that happened to be good at whatever he played, whether it
Yeah,
was Gaelic football, which he was terrific, an awful lot to Gaelic football. I mean, there was shock waves around Dublin at the time when they heard Kevin Moran has gone to Manchester United, and people were looking around to see had they the name wrong, had they the wrong
yeah,
name. But a terrific soccer player, a
yes,
terrific. You saw him playing, Joe, yourself.
yeah, yeah. No, and I mean, he got sent off in that cup final visit against Everton.
Yeah,
Um, I thought it was. I was disgusted that he was sent off.
he was sent off because he was an Irish player.
Yeah, well, that might be true, but yeah, I thought it was ridiculous. The referee I think was Willis.
Yeah,
And he was a good referee. I mean, he was a good referee. I just think that to be sending. I didn't think it was that bad what happened, but I
no.
mean, to me, if you were going to send a guy off in a cup final, it's got to be pretty egregious.
In any match, you've got to be 100% sure.
Yes, you do. Yeah,
To exclude a player from a game,
yeah,
and in a cup final in a very important game, you have to be sure of these things. Sure, I mean that changes the whole nature of the game, particularly in soccer when you have only 9 outfield players. Then,
yeah.
and it changes the whole plan, as you know
Yes,
yourself. Your
yeah. It
plan going
does.
up, Joe, you drop back here after half an hour, and Jim. I mean, the whole thing is gone. Like
Oh
it's,
yeah,
it's
yeah,
shocking.
yeah.
And
It's
he didn't deserve that. He was a tough, hard player, but he was never a dirty player.
no, he was not. No, he was not. It's
So now,
no.
Joe, we have the last word on next Saturday night.
So I think City. I really do. I think City will win.
Yeah.
And I to be honest, I can't see past them. And of course, now having said that, I've jinxed them. So
So what will the score be?
I think the score would probably be 2-0 City, 2
Yeah.
or 3-0 City. I
I'm
think.
probably I would agree with you. I think City will win it, and there's no doubt about it. And I think deservedly so because they've been the farm team for the whole year through all the competitions except Man United took the League Cup. Okay, it's something for United fans to hold on to, But
Yeah.
but we've come to the end, lads, of another edition of SportsView. So from Joe Waters, from sunny Seattle, and from sunny Limerick, until we meet again, Joe. Take care and good sporting.
Take care, Pat. Thank you.
Bye bye.